Welcome back to the Echoes of Ihsan podcast. Today,
Yeah.
we're diving into a topic that's, well, both timeless and surprisingly relevant, I think. Marriage.
Marriage.
We're going deep into Sahih Bukhari, book 62, Wedlock, Marriage, Nikah, to see what insights we can glean from this collection of sayings and practices of the Prophet Muhammad.
It's fascinating to consider how a text from centuries ago can still offer guidance on something as personal and complex as marriage.
Yeah.
What are we hoping to uncover in this deep dive?
Well, I think, a lot of people might just assume that a book on marriage from that time would be all about, like, rules and restrictions. But what I'm finding is that it's so much more nuanced than that. We're seeing, like, practical advice, ethical considerations, even glimpses into the Prophet's own married life.
That's a great point. It's easy to fall into the trap of viewing historical texts as, like, rigid or outdated. But if we approach them with an open mind, we can often find wisdom that transcends, time and culture.
Exactly. So let's start with the very first hadith in this book.
Yeah.
It sets the stage beautifully. It tells the story of three men who came to the Prophet's wives, inquiring about his worship. They were amazed by his piety, and they felt like their own practices were, like, really lacking.
Seeking inspiration, it seems. A very human impulse, wouldn't you say? We often look to others, especially those we admire, for guidance on how to live our lives.
Absolutely. So each man vows to take on, like, an extreme form of piety. One decides to pray all night, another to fast all year round, and the third to abstain from marriage altogether.
Ah, the allure of asceticism. Denying worldly pleasures in pursuit of spiritual purity. It's a concept that appears in many religious traditions, but it also raises questions about, balance, doesn't it? Can we truly achieve spiritual fulfillment by kind of rejecting the world and all it offers?
That's the key question. And it's where the Prophet's response gets really interesting. When he hears of their vows, he, like, gently corrects them. He says, and I'm paraphrasing here, "I am more submissive to Allah and more afraid of him than you, yet I fast and break my fast. I sleep and I also marry women."
Powerful words. He's emphasizing that true piety isn't about, deprivation or isolation. It's about engaging with the world in a balanced and mindful way. He's acknowledging the importance of fulfilling our spiritual obligations while also embracing the beauty and blessings of,
human experience. And he goes on to say that whoever doesn't follow his tradition and religion is not one of his followers. A pretty strong statement.
Indeed. It highlights the importance of following the Prophet's example, not just in rituals, but in all aspects of life, including marriage. He's setting a precedent for a balanced and holistic approach to faith.
It's like he's saying that marriage is not an obstacle to spiritual growth, but rather, like, a path towards it. It's about finding that sweet spot where we can honor our commitments to God while also experiencing the joys and challenges of human connection.
Absolutely. And I think that's a message that resonates deeply even today. So many people struggle with finding that balance between their, spiritual aspirations and their worldly desires. This hadith reminds us that it's not about choosing one over the other, but about, like, integrating them harmoniously.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it leads us nicely into the next set of hadiths we wanted to discuss. These focus on a very specific ethical consideration: protecting the vulnerable, especially orphans, in the context of marriage.
This is where we start to see the practical application of Islamic principles in, addressing real-life situations. It's not just about abstract concepts, but about ensuring justice and fairness in a society where power dynamics can often,
create vulnerabilities. You'll see a recurring theme throughout this book: protecting orphans, especially when it comes to marriage. The text addresses potential power imbalances that can arise when guardians are entrusted with the care of orphans, particularly female orphans, who might inherit wealth or property.
It's about recognizing that these individuals are particularly vulnerable to exploitation, and that it's the responsibility of the community, and especially those in positions of authority, to safeguard their well-being.
Exactly. One hadith, for example, talks about the importance of dealing justly with orphan girls, particularly when it comes to marriage. It specifically addresses a situation where a guardian might be attracted to an orphan girl under his care because of her wealth or beauty.
That's a really sensitive topic, and it's commendable how the text, tackles it head on. What kind of guidance does it offer?
The text explicitly forbids such guardians from marrying these girls unless they treat them justly, meaning they offer them a, fair and appropriate.
Ah, the mahr. For our listeners who might not be familiar, the mahr is the dowry given to the bride in Islamic marriage. It's a symbol of her value and a financial safeguard for her.
Precisely. And in this context, ensuring a fair and appropriate mahr protects the financial well-being of the orphan girl, preventing her from, being taken advantage of in a vulnerable position. It's about transparency and ensuring her rights are protected.
It's interesting how this concept of the mahr, which might seem like a purely financial transaction, is actually intertwined with ethical considerations and the protection of vulnerable individuals.
And this concern for protecting the vulnerable extends beyond financial matters. We see hadiths that emphasize the importance of respecting an orphan's wishes when it comes to marriage.
That's particularly significant in a society where, arranged marriages were common. It's about recognizing the agency and autonomy of these individuals, even if they are, under the care of guardians.
Absolutely. It's about ensuring that their voices are heard and their choices are respected. They're not to be treated as, commodities or pawns in someone else's game, but as individuals with their own dignity and the right to self-determination.
It's truly remarkable how these teachings address such specific situations, providing clear guidelines to prevent abuse and uphold ethical conduct. It speaks to the holistic nature of Islamic law, considering not just the letter of the law, but its spirit and intended outcomes.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. It's not just about abstract principles, but about how those principles are applied in real-life scenarios to create a just and compassionate society. It's about protecting the vulnerable, ensuring fairness, and upholding the dignity of every individual.
It's a reminder that spirituality is not just about, personal piety, but about creating a world where everyone can, flourish and live with dignity.
Well said. And speaking of navigating life's complexities, let's shift gears a bit and, talk about the advice given to young people. After all, marriage is often, top of mind for those entering adulthood.
Yes, the joys and anxieties of young love. I'm eager to hear what wisdom the text offers on this topic.
Well, you'll find that the text acknowledges the challenges young people face when it comes to managing desires and urges, the power of attraction, the difficulty of controlling impulses. These are, timeless struggles, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. They are part and parcel of the, human experience, regardless of time or culture. And it's refreshing to see a text from centuries ago acknowledging these realities rather than,
shying away from them.
Exactly. And the advice offered is both realistic and rooted in Islamic principles. The Prophet recommends marriage for those who can afford it, recognizing that it provides a halal or permissible outlet for intimacy and companionship, fulfilling those natural desires in a way that is blessed by God. That's a sensible and practical suggestion. Marriage, within the Islamic framework, provides a structured and sanctified path for expressing those desires while also fostering commitment, responsibility. And what he also recognizes is that not everyone is in a position to marry right away. For those who cannot afford it, he recommends fasting.
An interesting connection. Fasting, a practice of self-discipline and spiritual purification, is offered as a means of managing those desires in a
messy and productive way.
Exactly. It's a way of channeling that energy, tempering those urges while focusing on spiritual growth and self-improvement. It's about recognizing the challenges young people face, offering them tools to navigate those challenges within an Islamic context.
Empowering, isn't it? Yeah. It's about recognizing that we have agency, even when it comes to our desires. We can make choices that, align with our values and contribute to our overall well-being, both physically and spiritually.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And it speaks to the overarching message we've been seeing throughout this book. Balance. Balance between our spiritual aspirations and our worldly desires. Balance between individual needs and communal responsibilities.
Yeah.
Balance between enjoying the blessings of this life and preparing for the hereafter.
Beautifully said. It's about recognizing that these seemingly disparate aspects of our lives are actually intertwined, and finding that equilibrium is essential for living a truly fulfilling life.
And speaking of fulfillment, this brings us to another intriguing aspect of this book. Glimpses into the Prophet's own married life. The text doesn't shy away from depicting his marriages, including the fact that he had multiple wives. It also talks about his interactions with his wives, highlighting the importance of
intimacy and connection within marriage. I'm curious to explore this further. These accounts offer a unique window into, how these teachings were embodied in the Prophet's own life. They humanize him, reminding us that he was not just a prophet, but also a husband navigating the complexities of relationships just like the rest of us.
Exactly. And what I find particularly striking is the text's emphasis on treating wives with, kindness, respect, and affection.
That's a crucial point. It challenges the sometimes distorted perceptions people might have about the Prophet's marriages. It reminds us that he set an example of treating his wives with dignity and care, recognizing their individuality and valuing their contributions.
One hadith that comes to mind simply states that the Prophet used to visit all his wives in one night. And he had 9 wives at the time.
That certainly paints a picture of an active and, dare I say, fulfilling marital life. It also challenges the notion that polygamy, as practiced by the Prophet, about fulfilling his own desires. It suggests a commitment to attending to the needs and emotional well-being of, each of his wives.
It's a reminder that intimacy and connection are
essential aspects of marriage, regardless of its structure.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important to note that we're not advocating for polygamy here. It was permissible in the Prophet's time and context, but it's not something that's widely practiced or accepted today. What we can glean from these accounts is the importance of prioritizing intimacy, communication, and, emotional connection within marriage, regardless of its form.
Well said. And speaking of prioritizing important aspects of a relationship, let's move on to the topic of choosing a spouse. This is where things get, really interesting, especially for those seeking guidance on finding a compatible partner. What qualities does the text emphasize?
This is where wisdom truly shines through. The Prophet placed strong emphasis on religiousness and character above all else, which might surprise some people in our modern world, where, wealth and social status are often given more weight.
Exactly. One hadith captures this beautifully. The Prophet is reported to have said, "The best women are the riders of camels and the righteous among the women of Quraysh." Now, the ability to ride a camel back then signified strength, resilience, and adaptability, qualities that were highly valued, especially in the context of, the Arabian Peninsula's harsh environment. And by pairing this with righteousness, the Prophet emphasizes that a woman's character, her piety, and her moral compass are, paramount.
It's about looking beyond superficial qualities and seeking a partner who shares your values, someone who will support your growth, both as an individual and as a Muslim, someone who will, walk beside you on the path of righteousness.
Precisely. It's about finding someone who will, uplift and inspire you, someone who will challenge you to be your best self. It's about aligning yourself with a partner who shares your spiritual aspirations and strengthens your connection with God.
A profound insight. It reframes the entire concept of compatibility, shifting the focus from external attributes to internal qualities that, truly matter in the long run.
And this wisdom isn't limited to men seeking wives. The same principle applies to women choosing husbands. One hadith explicitly states that a woman is married for 4 things: her wealth, her family status, her beauty, and her religion.
And the emphasis falls squarely on,
you guessed it, religion. The hadith concludes by advising, so you should marry the religious woman, otherwise you will be a loser.
A powerful statement. It underscores the importance of, aligning yourself with someone who shares your faith, someone who will encourage and support your, spiritual journey. It's a reminder that marriage is not just a social contract, but a spiritual partnership, one that has the potential to either, strengthen or weaken your connection with God.
And this brings us to another surprising aspect that emerges from the text: the emphasis on seeking knowledge, not just wealth, when it comes to marriage.
Now, that's an intriguing twist. We often hear about the importance of financial stability in marriage. And while that's certainly practical, I'm curious to hear how these hadiths highlight a different kind of,
We see instances where the Prophet facilitated marriages for those with limited financial means, emphasizing the wealth of knowledge over material possessions. One hadith tells a particularly heartwarming story. A woman presented herself to the Prophet for marriage, but a companion expressed interest in marrying her. The Prophet, following the custom, asked the man if he had anything to offer as mar. The man confessed that he had nothing.
My goodness.
The Prophet, in his kindness, suggested he search for something, even an iron ring, to give as mar. But the man couldn't find anything, not even an iron ring. He was desperately poor, with only his izar, a waist sheet, to his name.
My goodness, that's heartbreaking.
The Prophet, seeing the man's sincerity and recognizing his lack of material wealth, then asked the man how much of the Quran he knew by heart. The man, eager to prove himself, recited several surahs. Impressed by the man's knowledge and piety, the Prophet, right then and there, said, "Go, I marry her to you for that much of the Quran which you have."
Wow, that's incredible. Knowledge, in this case, knowledge of the Quran, served as a substitute for material wealth. It speaks volumes about the value placed on education and
spiritual understanding in early Islamic society.
It's truly a beautiful testament to the belief that a person's worth is not measured by their possessions, but by their ma'ach. You know, character and knowledge. And we see this theme echoed in other hadiths as well. There are several stories of the Prophet facilitating marriages where the mar consisted of knowledge of the Quran.
What a powerful message. It challenges conventional notions of what constitutes a good match and emphasizes the transformative power of knowledge. It suggests that education and spiritual understanding are, assets that can open doors and create opportunities, even in matters as personal as marriage.
And it speaks to the importance of investing in education, both for individuals and for society as a whole. It shows that knowledge can, unlock doors that might otherwise remain closed. And it reminds us that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the pursuit of knowledge and, spiritual enlightenment. It's a thing, and profound lesson in recognizing the things that, truly matter. And it makes me appreciate the, depth and nuance of these teachings even more. It's like peeling back layers of an onion, revealing more and more insights with each, exploration.
And we're just getting started. There's so much more to uncover in this book, so many more layers to peel back.
Well then, lead the way. I'm all ears.
Let's delve into a topic that might seem a bit complex at first, but is nonetheless important. Foster relationships and their implications for marriage.
This is where the legal intricacies come into play. I'm eager to hear how Islamic law navigates these sensitive matters, especially considering the complexities of
family structures and social dynamics.
You'll see that the text provides clear guidelines while also, upholding compassion and understanding. The core principle is that foster relationships, through breastfeeding specifically, create a bond that mirrors blood ties. So the CD, milk kinship, as it's sometimes called, establishes familial connections that carry the same weight as, biological relationships. And this, of course, has implications for marriage, as certain blood relations make marriage, prohibited.
Exactly. Just as you can't marry your, biological sister, you also can't marry your foster sister, someone who, share the same witness as you. It's about maintaining social harmony and avoiding potential conflicts within families.
It's fascinating how these seemingly ancient customs reveal a deep understanding of human relationships and the potential for complications within, kinship networks. It speaks to the foresight of these teachings in addressing potential conflicts and
ensuring the stability of
family structures.
One hadith sets the stage by describing a situation where the Prophet's companion, Abu Hutaifa, adopted Salim as his son. He then, following the customs of the time, married his niece, Hayden Kadni, to Salim. However, Salim was the freed slave of an Ansari woman, adding, another layer of complexity to the situation.
So there were, layers of relationships at play here. I'm curious to see how this situation unfolds.
Well, at the time, it was customary for adopted sons to be treated as, biological sons. But then God revealed verses in the Quran clarifying that adopted sons should be called by their father's names, not their adoptive fathers.
Oh, a shift in, understanding. This revelation kind of changed the way these relationships were perceived and had a direct impact on Salim's marriage to Hind.
Exactly. It challenged existing social norms and required the marriage. Reassessment of familial relationships and their implications for marriage. Abu Hutaifa's wife, Stala, understandably concerned about the implications of this new understanding, went to the Prophet for guidance.
So they were, seeking clarification on how to proceed in light of this revelation. What was the Prophet's response?
The Prophet confirmed that adopted sons were not to be treated as, biological sons, meaning their marriages to women within their adoptive families might now be prohibited. Complex situation indeed. It highlights the evolving nature of, understanding and interpretation within Islam, and how revelation can provide clarity and guidance on matters that might have previously been unclear.
And while the details of what happened to Salim and Hind's marriage aren't explicitly mentioned in this particular hadith, it establishes a precedent for differentiating between blood ties and, foster relationships. This distinction becomes crucial in determining permissible marriages.
It's like a legal precedent, paving the way for a more nuanced understanding of kinship and its impact on, marriage loss.
Exactly. And this is further elaborated upon in other hadiths. One hadith, for example, describes a situation where a man asked permission to enter the house of the Prophet's wife, Hafsa, Aishi, another of the Prophet's wives, was present. And, questioned whether this was appropriate, given the importance of privacy, especially in the Prophet's household.
I can see how that would race concerns. What was the Prophet explained that the man was Hafsa's foster uncle, meaning he had a familial connection through breastfeeding, which made it permissible for him to enter her home.
So the foster relationship kind of create a familial bond that superseded the, general rules of privacy.
It's interesting how these teachings take into account the nuances of, different types of relationships.
And this established a precedent for, other similar situations. There are many hadiths in this book that deal with specific cases involving foster relationships and their implications for marriage.
It's fascinating how these hadiths address such.
Yeah.
Nuanced scenarios, demonstrating the practicality of Islamic law in Hojike. Addressing real-life complexities. They offer guidance on how to navigate these sensitive matters with, clarity and compassion, upholding both the kind of again, there, the letter of the law.
Canticle compita, fosterer, carefully woven tapestry, each thread contributing to the overall strength and beauty of the fabric. And this attention to detail ensures that Islamic guidelines on marriage are both, comprehensive and ethically sound. It's a reminder that these teachings are not just about abstract principles, but about providing practical guidance for navigating the complexities of, human relationships in a way that promotes harmony, justice, and
well-being.
Well said. And speaking of guidelines, let's move on to a topic that's directly related to the previous one. Prohibited marriages. This section of the book outlines specific types of marriages that are forbidden in Islam, providing clear boundaries and guidelines for maintaining, social order and familial harmony.
This is a cues.
Yeah.
Crucial aspect of any legal system.
Yeah.
Defining what's permissible and what's not.
Right.
What specific prohibitions are.
Yeah.
Mentioned in this book.
One of the most well-known prohibitions is marrying two sisters simultaneously. This is, explicitly forbidden. It's about avoiding potential conflicts.
Jealousies.
And complications that could arise within family structure.
That makes perfect sense. It's about safeguarding the emotional well-being of, all parties involved.
And preventing, potential for discord within the family unit.
And this prohibition extends beyond, just sisters. The text also forbids marrying woman and her paternal or maternal aunt at the same time. Again, it's about preventing conflicts and maintaining, clear familial boundaries.
It's interesting how these prohibitions create a framework for, healthy relationships within a family, ensuring that roles and boundaries are respected, and potential for, confusion or tension is minimized. It creates a sense of order and,
clarity. And this clarity is what makes Islamic teachings on marriage so valuable. They provide guidance on what is permissible and what is not, leaving, no room for ambiguity or confusion.
It's just a roadmap for navigating complex social dynamics with integrity and wisdom, ensuring that our actions align with ethical principles and contribute to the well-being of the community as a whole.
Well said. Yeah. No, the next section we'll be exploring deals with a rather sensitive topic, certain hadiths that mention evil omens being associated with women, horses, and houses.
That's certainly, intriguing and potentially. How are these hadiths presented in the text, and what are some of the interpretations surrounding them?
There are several hadiths that mention this concept. One, for instance, states that the Prophet said, evil omen is in the woman, the house, and the horse. It's a statement that, requires careful interpretation and contextualization.
Indeed. It's important to approach such statements with a critical and discerning mind, considering the historical context in which they were uttered, avoiding, simplistic or literal interpretations that might lead to harmful stereotypes or biases.
Exactly. It's crucial to remember that these hadiths have been subject to, much scholarly debate and interpretation. Some scholars argue that they should be understood in their historical context, the time when, superstitions were prevalent.
So where do we begin this exploration of rights and responsibilities within marriage? It's a vast, multifaceted topic. And I'm curious to see what specific areas the text focuses on.
This section of the book covers a wide range of topics. From, mutual respect and fulfilling each other's needs.
To,
managing difficult emotions and seeking forgiveness and reconciliation. It's like a comprehensive guide to navigating the ups and downs of married life, offering practical advice grounded in, spiritual principles.
It sounds like a treasure trove of wisdom for couples, seeking to build a strong and lasting partnership. Specific examples come to mind.
One hadith that stands out offers a beautiful analogy for understanding the dynamics of marriage. The Prophet said, the woman is like a rib. If you try to straighten her, she will break. So if you want to get benefit from her, do so while she still has some crookedness.
Intriguing imagery. It speaks to the importance of accepting our spouses for, who they are, recognizing their individuality and their imperfections, trying to, force them into a mold that we've created in our minds will only lead to heartbreak and resentment.
Exactly. It's about appreciating their unique qualities, even the ones that might seem a bit crooked at times. It's about recognizing that, perfect compatibility doesn't exist. What does exist is the potential for growth and understanding through patience, compassion, and a willingness to,
compromise.
A valuable lesson in, navigating the complexities of human relationships. It reminds us that love thrives on acceptance, not, control. It's about embracing the unique qualities that make our spouses who they are and recognizing that those differences can actually enrich the relationship.
And this is further emphasized in another hadith that kind of expands on the rib analogy. The Prophet advises, whoever believes in Allah and the last day should not hurt his neighbor. And I advise you to take care of the women. For they are created from a rib, and the most crooked portion of the rib is its upper part. If you try to straighten it, it will break. And if you leave it, it will remain crooked. So I urge you to take care of the women. A powerful reminder of the responsibility we have towards our spouses. It's about treating them with kindness, understanding, and a recognition of their, inherent worth. It connects this responsibility to our faith, reminding us that being a good husband or wife is not just about, fulfilling social expectations, but about embodying Islamic values of kindness, compassion, and justice within our marriages.
It elevates marriage to
a spiritual practice, a means of strengthening our connection with God through acts of kindness and empathy towards our spouses.
And this integration of faith in daily life is further highlighted in a hadith that addresses the issue of optional fasting. The Prophet said, a woman should not fast, optional fast, except with her husband's permission if he is at home. Staying with her. That's interesting. It seems to prioritize the husband's needs and the importance of marital intimacy, even when it comes to,
acts of worship. It's about recognizing that. Even acts of worship should not come at the expense of fulfilling, one's marital obligations. It's about balance and consideration for the needs of,
both partners.
It's a reminder that marriage is a partnership, and decisions that impact one partner should be made with the consent and understanding of the, other. It's about open communication, respecting each other's needs and desires, and finding ways to support each other's spiritual growth while also nurturing the
marital bond. Absolutely. It's about recognizing that our spiritual aspirations and our worldly desires are not mutually exclusive, but can coexist harmoniously within the context of a loving and supportive marriage.
Speaking of harmonious coexistence, another hadith offers a beautiful framework for understanding the interconnectedness of our, roles and responsibilities within a family. The Prophet said, every one of you is a guardian and every one of you is responsible for his wards. A ruler is a guardian and is responsible for his subjects. A man is a guardian of his family and responsible for them. A wife is a guardian of her husband's house and she is responsible for it. A slave is a guardian of his master's property and is responsible for that. Beware, all of you are guardians and are responsible for your wards.
It's like a ripple effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our responsibilities extend outward from our immediate circles to encompass our families, our communities, and even our roles as citizens. We're all interconnected, and our actions have an impact on those around us.
It's a profound reminder of the interconnectedness of all things and how our individual choices contribute to the overall well-being of society. And within this framework of interconnected responsibilities, this hadith highlights the specific roles of husbands and wives within the family unit.
That's exactly. The husband is the guardian of his family, responsible for their well-being, protection, and provision. And the wife is the guardian of her husband's house, responsible for maintaining the home, caring for the children, and creating a nurturing and loving environment.
It's a France track, division of labor based on mutual respect and understanding, recognizing the unique strengths and abilities of both, partners. It's not about one role being superior to the other. Both are essential for the parful, smooth functioning of the family unit and the well-being of all its members.
It's a beautiful depiction of partnership. Each person contributing their unique strengths and abilities for the collective good, working together to create a harmonious and,
fulfilling family life.
And the sense of shared responsibility is crucial for fostering a strong and lasting marriage. It's about working together as a team, supporting each other through life's challenges, celebrating each other's successes, and recognizing the value of each person's, contribution.
Yeah.
It's about creating a synergy where the whole is greater than the
Some of its parts.
Well said. Speaking of navigating life's complexities, the next section we'll be exploring, right?
Delves into a topic that's often seen as a taboo or something to be avoided, but is nonetheless an essential aspect of, human relationships.
Jealousy.
Jealousy, the green-eyed monster that can rear its head in even the most, loving relationships. It's an emotion that's often associated with, negativity, possessiveness, and conflict. But I'm curious to hear how these hadiths kind of approach this complex emotion.
You'll find that these hadiths offer valuable insights into the, human side of the Prophet's own household, including instances of jealousy among his wives and, his responses to these situations. They provide lessons on navigating difficult emotions within marriage and the importance of seeking forgiveness and reconciliation.
It's nice. Comforting to know that even in the Prophet's household, there were moments of conflict and reconciliation. It makes these teachings all the more relatable and applicable to our own lives, reminding us that even the best of us, experience these challenges.
One hadith tells a rather dramatic story. Aisha and Hafsa, two of the Prophet's wives, were accompanying him on a journey. One night, they switched camels, so Hafsa could ride Aisha's camel and vice versa. When the Prophet approached Aisha's camel, not realizing Hafsa was riding it, he greeted Hafsa and continued riding beside her. Aisha, witnessing this, became, incredibly jealous, and even prayed for a scorpion or snake to bite her.
Oh my, that's quite a reaction.
Yeah.
It speaks to the intensity of emotions that can arise in relationships, especially when feelings of, insecurity or rivalry are at play.
It does.
Yeah.
And while Aisha's reaction might seem extreme, it highlights the very real pain that jealousy can, inflict. It's a reminder that even in polygamous marriages, which were permissible in the Prophet's time, emotions like jealousy and the need for reassurance are very much
humanizes the experience of polygamy, showing us that it's not just about a set of rules or structures, but about real people navigating complex emotions within a ta'i,
unique marital arrangement. And what I find interesting is that the text, while not, condoning Aisha's reaction, acknowledges the validity of these feelings. It doesn't shame her for experiencing jealousy, but offers guidance on how to manage those emotions in a healthy way.
Crucial point. Yeah. It's about recognizing that jealousy is appeal, natural human emotion.
And suppressing or denying it will only, exacerbate the problem. It's about finding healthy ways to express those feelings, communicate our needs, and seek reassurance from our partners.
Exactly. And these hadiths, while focusing on the context of polygamy, offer valuable insights into, managing jealousy in any relationship, after all. Jealousy isn't, limited to polygamous marriages. It can arise in any relationship where one partner feels, insecure, threatened, or neglected.
That's true. So what kind of guidance do these hadiths offer on, managing jealousy in
a healthy way?
The text emphasizes the importance of communication, understanding, and forgiveness. It encourages us to, address the root of the problem, to express our feelings openly and honestly, and to seek resolution through dialogue and empathy.
That's like the society.
Wise approach. It's about tackling the issue head on, rather than letting it fester and potentially damage the relationship. It's about creating a space where both partners feel safe to express their vulnerabilities and work together to find solutions.
Several hadiths touch on this theme of communication. One hadith recounts a conversation between Umar, the Prophet's companion, and his daughter Hafsa, who is also one of the Prophet's wives. Umar, concerned for his daughter's well-being, cautioned Hafsa not to be misled by Aisha's beauty and the Prophet's, love for her. When Umar relayed this conversation to the Prophet, he smiled, indicating his understanding and amusement at the situation.
It sounds like he had a knack for, diffusing tension with a light touch, a reminder that humor can be a powerful tool for navigating, difficult conversation. Absolutely. His, gentle approach fostered an environment of open communication within his household. He encouraged his wives to express their feelings, even when those feelings were difficult or uncomfortable.
It's about creating a space where vulnerability is met with compassion, not judgment. It sets a powerful precedent for, healthy communication within marriage, encouraging partners to express their needs and concerns without fear of, reprisal.
And this open communication paved the way for forgiveness and reconciliation. One hadith touches on the importance of seeking forgiveness, stating that the Prophet's finished said, There is none having a greater sense of gira than Allah, and for that, He has forbidden the doing of evil actions, illegal sexual intercourse, etc. There is none who like to be praised more than Allah does.
Interesting connection. It links the concept of, gira.
Which can be understood as a sense of protective jealousy or
Self-respect.
to God's own, attributes. It suggests that God, being the most, perfect being, has the greatest sense of gira. And this is reflected in His prohibition of actions that violate.
Yeah. His laws.
In His honor.
Exactly. And this concept of gira is further elaborated upon in another hadith, where the Prophet says, "O followers of Muhammad, there is none who has a greater sense of gira, self-respect, than Allah. So He has forbidden that His slave commits illegal sexual intercourse, or His slave girl commits illegal sexual intercourse. O followers of Muhammad, if you but knew what I know, you would laugh less and weep more."
Oh, powerful statement. It connects God's gira to His concern for our, well-being, His desire to protect us from, harm. It's a reminder that His laws are not arbitrary, but are rooted in His, love and mercy for us. And this concept of divine gira has implications for our own, relationships. It suggests that we too should have a sense of gira, a protective jealousy for our own honor and the honor of those we love. But this gira should not be misconstrued as a license for possessiveness or control.
It's about finding a balance between protecting those we love and respecting their, autonomy. It's a delicate dance, isn't it?
It is. And these hadiths, guide us toward that balance, encouraging us to channel our gira in a way that promotes righteousness and fosters, healthy relationships. They remind us that true love is not about ownership, but about, cherishing and safeguarding the well-being of our loved ones.
It's about recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every individual, treating them with respect and honoring their, choices. It's about fostering an environment of trust and mutual respect, where each partner feels, safe and valued.
Well said. And this brings us to another important aspect of navigating jealousy and forgiveness within marriage.
Yeah.
Understanding the importance of, reconciliation. These hadiths remind us that conflicts are inevitable in human relationships. But they also provide hope that reconciliation is always, possible.
It's a deal.
Comforting thought.
Yeah.
It suggests that even in the face of hurt and anger, there's always a path back to love and understanding. Where men broken bridges and rebuild trust.
One hadith offers a glimpse into how the Prophet facilitated, reconciliation within his own household. It tells a story of one of his wives becoming jealous and breaking a dish that another wife had sent with food.
Quite a dramatic display of jealousy. I'm curious to hear how the Prophet, handled the situation. Did he, women, reprimand the wife who broke the dish? He responded with remarkable composure and wisdom. Instead of scolding or punishing the wife who had acted out of jealousy, he calmly gathered the broken pieces of the dish and started collecting the food that had been in it, acknowledging his wife's feelings of jealousy without, condoning her actions. He then detained the servant who had brought the dish until a new dish was brought from the wife at whose house he was. He gave the new dish to the wife whose dish had been broken and kept the broken one at the house where it had been broken.
What a beautiful example of his wisdom and, compassion.
Yeah.
Address the situation with sensitivity and understanding, diffusing the tension and restoring harmony without resorting to blame or punishment.
It's a masterclass in conflict resolution, highlighting the importance of, addressing conflicts with a focus on understanding, empathy, and a willingness to forgive. It's a reminder that even in moments of anger or hurt, we should strive to maintain respect and dignity in our interactions with ourselves.
It's a chat.
Valuable lesson applicable not just in marriage, but in all our, relationships. It's about finding a path back to connection, even when the road seems rocky, recognizing that preserving the relationship is more important than winning an, argument.
And this theme of reconciliation is further emphasized in another hadith, which recounts a rather, humorous incident. The Prophet said, "I entered paradise and saw a palace and asked, 'Whose palace is this?' The angel said, 'This palace belongs to Umar bin al-Khattab. I intended to enter it, and nothing stopped me except my knowledge about your sense of gira.' Self-respect, O Umar." Umar said, "O Allah's apostle, let my father and mother be sacrificed for you. O Allah's prophet, how dare I think of my gira? Self-respect, being offended by you."
Playful exchange. It reveals the close bond between the Prophet and Umar, as well as Umar's. Deep respect and admiration for him. But what's the significance of the Prophet mentioning Umar's sense of gira in this context, even in a kakurna, it highlights the importance of sensitivity and understanding in relationships, even in like lighthearted moments.
Yeah.
The Prophet, knowing Umar's strong sense of gira, refrained from entering his palace in paradise, even though it was a metaphorical gesture, out of respect for Umar's, feelings.
It's a beautiful example of how even the smallest actions can speak volumes about the depth of our, care and consideration for others. It's about being mindful of our words and actions, considering how they might impact our, loved ones, even in jest.
Exactly. It's about fostering an environment where everyone feels, safe, respected, and valued.
Yeah.
Where their feelings are taken into consideration, even in seemingly insignificant matters. It's about building a foundation of trust and mutual respect, recognizing that even, playful banter can sometimes touch on sensitive chords.
It's a reminder that true intimacy involves a deep understanding of our partners, sensitivities. And that even in moments of lightheartedness, we should strive to communicate with kindness and
consideration. And this brings us to the final section of our discussion on rights and responsibilities within marriage, where we'll explore stories that reveal the Prophet's own experiences with jealousy and forgiveness within his marriages.
These accounts offer a unique and intimate glimpse into the dynamics of the Prophet's, household, allowing us to see him not just as a prophet, but as a husband. Grappling with the same complexities that we all face in our,
relationships.
Exactly. And I think you'll find that these stories are both enlightening and relatable, offering valuable lessons for us all, regardless of our, marital status or relationship dynamics.
I'm eager to hear these, stories lead the way.
So we're diving into these, more personal stories from the Prophet's life. Where should we begin? Well, one hadith recounts a dream that the Prophet had. He said, "While I was sleeping, I saw a woman performing ablution beside a palace. I asked, 'Whose palace is this?' It was said, 'This palace belongs to Gumar.' Then I remembered his sense of gira and returned. On that, Umar started weeping in that gathering and said, 'Oh, Allah's apostle, how dare I think of my self-respect being offended by you?'"
Even in a dream, the Prophet was considerate of Umar's feelings. It speaks volumes about his character and his deep respect for his companion.
It's a beautiful testament to his sensitivity and awareness. Even in the realm of dreams, he recognized Umar's strong sense of gira and chose to honor those feelings. Even a
symbolic gesture.
It highlights the importance of considering the feelings of those we love, even in CCs, seemingly insignificant matters. It's a reminder that small gestures of respect can go a long way in building trust and strengthening relationships. It's about fostering an environment of understanding and empathy where everyone feels, seen and valued. It's about recognizing that our actions, even unintentional ones, can have an impact on others, and that being mindful of those impacts is a sign of true love and respect.
Her hadith offers a glimpse into the playful banter between the Prophet and Aisha. The Prophet said to Aisha, "I know when you are pleased with me or angry with me." Aisha asked, "Whence do you know that?" He said, "When you are pleased with me, you say, 'No, by the Lord of Muhammad.' But when you are angry with me, then you say, 'No, by the Lord of Abraham.'" Thereupon she said, "Yes, you're right. But by Allah, O Allah's apostle, I leave nothing but your name."
What a charming anecdote. It reveals the intimacy and, affection between them. And the Prophet's attentiveness to Aisha is subtle cues. It shows that he paid attention to the nuances of their interactions, picking up on the subtle flips in her language. That revealed her, emotional state.
It highlights the importance of paying attention to the nuances of communication in relationships. It's not just about the words we use, but also the tone, the body language, the unspoken messages that we convey through expressions and actions.
It's about, reading between the lines, being attuned to our partner's emotional state, and responding with sensitivity and, understanding. It's about recognizing that communication is a multifaceted process that goes beyond just verbal exchanges.
And this attentiveness fosters deeper connection and understanding. It shows that we truly care about the other person. We are invested in the relationship. It creates a sense of security and trust, knowing that our partner is attuned to our needs and feelings, even the written as unspoken ones.
It's a beautiful reminder that love thrives on attention to detail, on noticing the little things that make our, loved ones unique and special. It's about being, present in the relationship, fully engaged, and attuned to the subtle nuances of our partner's being.
Another hadith reveals a tender side to Aisha, as she expresses her feelings of jealousy towards Khadija, the Prophet's first wife, who had passed away. before Aisha married the Prophet. The Hadith states, "I never felt so jealous of any wife of Allah's apostle as I did of Khadija, because Allah's apostle used to remember and praise her too often, and because it was revealed to Allah's apostle that he should give her, Khadija, the glad tidings of her having a palace of Kasab in paradise."
It's a raw and honest expression of emotion. It reminds us that even in the most loving relationships, there can be moments of vulnerability and insecurity, especially when dealing with the legacy of a previous relationship.
It humanizes Aisha, showing us that she was not just a revered figure from Islamic history, but a woman who experienced the full spectrum of human emotions, including jealousy. It reminds us that even those closest to the Prophet were not immune to these feelings.
And it's important to note that the text doesn't, condemn Aisha for her feelings of jealousy. It simply presents her experience as a natural human response, acknowledging the complexities of emotions within polygamous relationships.
It's a reminder that jealousy, while often viewed negatively, can stem from a place of deep love and attachment.
Right.
It's about recognizing that our partners might have had significant relationships before us, and those relationships shaped who they are today. It's about, honoring the past, while focusing on building a strong and loving future together.
It's about creating space for those feelings, acknowledging their validity, and finding healthy ways to process them without letting them consume us our dimension.
And finally, one hadith highlights the Prophet's protectiveness of his daughter, Fatima. When the Banu Hisham requested to marry their daughter to Ali bin Abi Talib, who was already married to Fatima, the Prophet refused, stating, "Banu Hisham ben al-Mughira have requested me to allow them to marry their daughter to Ali bin Abu Talib, but I don't give permission, and willn't give permission, unless Ali bin Abi Talib divorces my daughter in order to marry their daughter, because Fatima is a part of my body, and I hate what she hates to see, and what hurts her hurts me."
That's a powerful statement of paternal love. It shows the depth of his affection for Fatima and his unwavering commitment to her happiness and well-being. He recognized that allowing Ali to take another wife would cause Fatima pain, and he refused to condone any action that would bring harm to her.
A beloved daughter. It's a beautiful testament to the strength of familial bonds, the unconditional love between a father and his daughter, Tighter. It reminds us that true love is about protecting and cherishing those we care about, even if it means making difficult choices.
It's about recognizing that our loved ones are an energy, extension of ourselves, and that their pain is our pain, their joy is our joy. It's about standing up for them, advocating for their well-being, and ensuring their
happiness. These stories, these glimpses into the Prophet's own, experiences offer a wealth of insights into the complexities of marriage. They show us that even the most revered figures navigated the challenges of jealousy, forgiveness, reconciliation, and the joys and sorrows of human relationships.
They remind us that marriage, while a sacred and blessed union, is also as better, journey of growth and discovery, process of learning, adapting, and,
evolving together.
They offer valuable lessons for us all, reminding us that even in the face of, difficulty, love, compassion, and understanding can pave the way for, strong and fulfilling partnerships.
And as we conclude this deep dive into the wisdom of Sahih Bukhari, let's remember that these teachings, while rooted in a convenient, visiting time and context, offer timeless principles. That can, guide us on our own journeys of love,
commitment,
and
spiritual growth.
These teachings remind us that marriage is not just a social contract, but a spiritual partnership, a journey of two souls striving towards God together, supporting each other's growth, and creating a legacy of love and righteousness.
It's a reminder that our personal lives are intertwined with our faith. And by embodying Islamic values in our relationships, we can create a more just, compassionate, and, loving world.
Well, there you have it. A glimpse into the rich and nuanced world of marriage, as seen through the lens of Sahih Bukhari. We've barely scratched the surface, so hopefully it sparked your curiosity to delve deeper into this timeless topic.
And remember, what we've discussed today is just one perspective, an interpretation of these, sacred texts. The beauty of Islamic scholarship lies in its diversity, in the multitude of voices and viewpoints that contribute to our understanding.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking knowledge from, reputable sources.
And as you continue your own journey of learning and discovery, may the echoes of Ihsan guide your steps and illuminate your...
Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep the echoes of Ihsan alive.